Here we're going to look at how to rearrange equations to show that they have the same gradient. So I've got two equations here written on my page that we're going to use as our first example. I'm just going to follow the steps that I've written out here on the left, and the aim of what we're wanting to do, we're wanting to rearrange our equation so it says y equals a whole bunch of stuff, and we're going to look at the numbers around the x to find what the gradient is. So for this first step, I'm going to move the x term to the other side by subtracting. So I want to get rid of this 2x at the front. I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides of my equation. So that's going to leave me on my left hand side with 6y. I've got my equal sign, then I've got 88 minus 2x. Then I need to divide everything by the coefficient of y. The coefficient is this number in front, which is 6. So I'm going to divide every piece by 6. What I then need to do is look at the fraction that is with the x. So this fraction here, negative 2 over 6. And that is my gradient. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify this. So what can I divide both the top and the bottom numbers by? I could divide them both by 2. That would get me negative 1 on the top. And if I divide the bottom number by 2, that would get me 3 on the bottom. Cool, so that there is my gradient for the first equation. I've simplified that fraction. Let's look at that second equation now. The first thing that I'm going to do with this one is just swap around the left and right hand sides so that it looks similar to the format of the other equation. It's got the x thing plus the y thing equals the number or the letter. And then I'm going to move the x term to the side by subtracting 12x this time from both sides. I'm left with 36y on the left equals p minus 12x. Now I need to divide everything by this coefficient of y, so divide everything by 36. And then I need to look at the fraction with the x. So this fraction here, negative 12 over 36. I need to simplify this. What can I divide both those numbers by? I could divide them both by 12. That would get me negative 1 on the top. Divide the denominator by 12 to get 3. This is my simplified fraction, and that is the gradient for that second equation. And I can see that both of these equations have the same gradient. One more example here. I'm going to start with my first equation by subtracting x from both sides. And that is now going to be 2y equals 21 minus x. I need to divide everything by that coefficient of 2. And then I need to look at the fraction with the x. Oh, but it looks like there's no number on top there. If there's not a number in front of your x up the top, there's actually a secret 1 there. So my fraction is negative 1 over 2. Can I simplify that? That's actually in its most simplified form. So that is finished there. That's my first gradient. My second equation, I'm just going to swap the sides just to make it a little bit easier to follow the process. Cool. I'm going to subtract 7.5x from both sides. I've got 15y equals p minus 7.5x. Divide everything by 15. And then the fraction that I want is this, negative 7.5 over 15. Now I don't like that there's a decimal up the top there, so I want to get rid of that. If I multiply by 2, that will get rid of the decimal. I'm going to have to do the same to the bottom to keep this an equivalent fraction. So negative 7.5 times by 2 would be negative 15. And then on the bottom, 15 times 2 would be 30. Cool, now that's a nice clear fraction for me to simplify. I could divide both of those, top and bottom, by 15. I'd get negative 1 on the top. 30 divided by 15 is 2 on the bottom. And this is good. I can see that that is now my simplified fraction, and that is showing the same gradient as my first equation.